Good morning and hello, Reverend Robert Ugen Doshin Yamada here. Welcome to the Animal Liberation Temple, Dobutukayoji, where we are at the service of the spiritual and physical liberation of our dear animal friends. We'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the ancestral and seized land of the Yokuts, Karkin, Confederate villages of the Lisha, Ohlone, Miwok, and the Miwokma, people who we recognize them, the legacy of violence, settlement, and displacement of these people who suffered and survived. Good morning, Tani. Good morning, Neil. So good to see you folks here. If people could give me a quick update on the actual sound, I think it should be better. Um, I'm probably still dropping a lot of frames. Um, oh, and good morning, Martin. So good to see you too. Um, as I have not yet got a wired interconnect connection into the temple. We're still working on it, but we'll get started with our updates. The weather seems to be still doing really well. It's really cold, but we are having sunny days, which helps with some of the power demand that's here. We're still running our generator about 2 to 3 hours a day, which is not great, but um, we're at least able to keep up with the power demand here. I was able to go down this week and get 3 truckloads of water. That's really important as all the animals here need water, and having a truck to be able to do that. An update on that is we have, again, we took a loan to get 15,000 of the 20,000 that we owe on that truck. So we're still trying to fundraise at least 5,000 more. And we're getting closer and closer to that. We had a few people donate this week, and that'll be in the credits listed so that folks, can be acknowledged for helping out the temple here. So we're really grateful for that. We are still working on the temple roof. We have pretty much exhausted most of our supplies. So we're going to have to fundraise to actually finish the roof. And first we'll get the truck paid, and then we will continue to work on the roof. But it's coming along. The temple's looking really nice. Ideally we want this a little bit more secure from the water, so I can leave a lot of the electronics in here. There's not a lot of dry spaces. In fact, when I went to go turn on the computer this morning, it told me to unplug everything because there was water in the computer somehow. It's kind of interesting that the computer knows there's water in it and telling me to unplug everything. So I had to unplug all the wires and dry them out and get those things working. Other updates. We've had a lot of help from volunteers this week, which enabled us to continue working on the roof. We, of course, have Conrad, who comes up regularly, and Rogine, who's here right now feeding all the animals, so that I can do the Sunday service. So that's really good. Thank you so much to Conrad and Rogine. That's super helpful. Let's go ahead and do the updates for our residents here. We of course have our duck friends, Breve, Greve, Amanda, and Renee. They're doing really well. Our dog friends, Lucy and Bernard, they're doing really well. The goats down the hill, which are Rob, Matt, and Philip, are doing super good. Our tortoise friends Miyachi and Tommy are actually outside now because we've had some sunny days. It's cold but sunny, and I want them to be able to get that vitamin D. Really important for tortoises. So they're outside enjoying the sunshine. I'm going to bring the heater outside so that they have some heat and can stay a little bit warmer. And they're also in need of building a new tortoise house because they keep getting bigger and bigger. So I need to build them a tortoise house. Luckily, I do have enough scrap wood where I do think I should be able to put something together, and that'll be really good. Our turkey friends Priya and Harriet are also doing really well. Super curious little birds. We've had, because of all the extra volunteer help we've been having, Priya is super interested in helping out. So as Regine was cleaning out some of the water bowls, Priya was right there by her side helping out, and it's wonderful to see that. Our turkeys really thrive on being able to have that human interaction. They're very human friendly. Maybe that's something I think we all can learn from, is be a little bit more human friendly. Probably not people who are watching this live stream, but the whole world could learn to be a little bit more human friendly. Then we have in the Cornwall corner, over to my left, all of our Cornish chickens. Jimmy and Edward, the roosters, and of course Jax is over on the main aviary side, but they're all doing really well. And then the hens, the Cornish hens, Poppy, Aster, Ivy, Azalea, Peony, Cynthia, Lotus, Magnolia, Sage, Marigold, Camilla, Hydrangea, Holly, and Zinnia, all doing really well. And then in the main aviary, we got our three red hens, Glennis, Gwen, and Alice, all doing really well. Our roosters on the right side, which are Sabrina, May, Hard One, Elton, Magnus, George, Brad, and Kuru, all doing really well. Our guinea fowl friend Wendy, also doing phenomenal. Our mourning dove in the house, Sequoia, is doing really well. Our rat friend in the house, Hasu, is doing well. And then we have our 38 pigeons, which are FP, Champagne, Tulin, Sasha, Yo-Yo, Petey, Ricky, Spreckles, Spencer, Shambles, Beluga, Beth, Pee-wee, Cascade, Augustus, Rufus, Harper, Elliot, Snickers, Boba, Kismet, Farah, Angus, Pandora, Jones, Sin, Harriet, Lago, Fred, Tremonto, Halo, Vin, Capone, Percy, Pacino, Lacey, Sasha the Second, and Dora. They, of course, are all doing really well. Our 4 foster ducks are continuing to do well, and I believe I mentioned this last week, but our 2 foster chickens went off to their sanctuary and are really happy and adjusting super well over there. So I'm really happy to hear about that. We will now recite our prayers and sutras and vows to our dear animal friends. As a reminder, these prayers are of great auspicious benefit to all who hear these prayers. And we ask you to have your companion animals nearby or in a place where wild animal friends can hear these prayers intended for them, even our dear insect friends. We'll start on page 4 of the Animal Liberation Temple prayer book. I think the link is in the description of this video of our link tree, where you can find a link to purchase this book if you don't have one. We'll start with the recitation of the Great Heart of Wisdom Sutra, page 4. Maka hanya haramita shengyo kanji zai bosatsu yojin hanya 阿弥陀自所見語音階行動一切苦役者利子識福苦不意識識属税苦属税識重創業識薬部業税者利子税商法苦訴不傷不滅不苦不浄不増不減税国苦中無識無重創業識無限に微絶真理無識証拠未速報無限界内視無意識界無無明薬無無明人内視無老視薬無老視人無苦種滅度無知薬無得意無所得公膨大サッタアンヤハラミタコシン無形下無形下公無分離一切天道無相苦行涅槃三世小仏へ般若ハラミタ高徳はノクタラ三脈三宝で高知般若ハラミタ世代真宗世代高知般若ハラミタ世代真宗世代妙宗世無常宗世無等道宗の上一切苦心絶不高校絶般若ハラミタ種族絶種圧がてギャテハラギャテボディソワカ般若心経レグワクはこのことこもてあまねく一切に及ぼし我ら投資者富な友の仏道アニマルリベレーションの上善こと非法三世佛系僧菩薩佛系僧菩薩もこさもこほじゃはろみWe now recite the refuge prayer in Tibetan and in English, page 8. Sangye chodan tsuki chonam la janju patuk tekni gyapsu chi daki jinso gyupe sonam gye drola penjer sangye chuparsho. The Buddha, Dharma, and excellent assembly of the Sangha. Until I attain enlightenment in these I take refuge. By my practice of the six perfections, may all sentient beings attain the state of Buddhahood. We now recite the four great Bodhisattva vows, Shigi Seigan. Shoujo Muhen Seigando Bono Mujin Seigandan Homon Muryo Seigangak Botsudo Mujo Seganjo. However, numerous sentient beings, I vow to enlighten them all. However inexhaustible my delusions, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the dharmas, I vow to master them all. However endlessly enlightened way, I vow to follow it fully. We now recite the 6 vows to our dear animal friends. Page 10. However numerous my dear animal friends, I vow to liberate them all. However diverse the methods of animal liberation, I vow to support them all. However unheard their voices, I vow to speak out for them all. However painful and inexhaustible the methods of suffering, I vow to bear witness to them all. However infinite the cages and tanks, I vow to empty them all. However difficult animal liberation, I vow to achieve it completely. We now recite the purification mantra Vajrasattva. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Anupalaya Vajrasattva Teno Pachisate Dome Bhava Sito Shome Bhava Supo Shome Bhava Anurato Me Bhava Sava Sita Me Prayasha Sava Karma Sita Me Dicham Sri Yam Guru Hom Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sava Tata Gata Vajrama Me Mucha Vajri Bhava Mahasamamya Safaha. So, this week's talk, kind of want to address something that I had mentioned last week, and that was a warning to not be, and I've mentioned this many times, is a warning about being not too overly critical of activists who take action in situations where things are really dire for particular communities, and activists may take actions that may not always align with our ideas, and to not be overly critical of the actions, and to open our hearts a little bit more to have a better understanding of why these activists take these types of actions. And I wanted to add on to that because I felt, I thought about it a lot this week. And I did mention how I feel that it's very important to remain nonviolent. But I don't think I expanded upon that. And I really wanted to talk a little bit more about that, on how important it is to be nonviolent. And also to be aware and cognitive of when we do criticize other activists and other movements, to do so from a place of compassion and wanting what's best for all sentient beings, and also be cognizant of who you might be. Maybe if when we come from a place of outside a particular community, and when we criticize another community, how that can be perceived as not very aware of how we criticize movements and criticize activists who are outside of our own particular community, meaning that we may not know all the nuances of the particular action. And so just to be very aware of that, and to be very aware that that maybe when the actions are violent, to be more critical of those types of actions, and even more so to be critical of actions that involve our own community. I say all that because I did see a post this week, um, and I wanted to criticize it a bit with love and compassion, and understanding, and a realization that I may not know all of the circumstances surrounding this particular moment in history. And also, so particularly I want to talk about the Buddhist peace walk, with the Buddhist monks doing this peace walk. I am extremely supportive of this. I think it is a beautiful way to exercise nonviolence in an active way, to physically put these monks are physically putting their body in danger, and physically going to places in which they might be in danger, or they might be encountering a lot of resistance. And for the most part they aren't. And for the most part, even though they're walking through the literal Bible Belt of the U.S., they are encountered by many warm and loving Christians. Sometimes they're not, not all the time, but sometimes they aren't. And I'm careful not to be overly criticizing of my Christian brothers and sisters, because again, that's not my particular community, and I don't come from that community. So there might be nuances about the way they express themselves, and so that's not what I want to mention. Where I want to be a little bit critical of one of the actions, and this is something that I see Buddhists do a lot, and that is a long, thousands of years possibly, of this tradition that Buddhists have of called life release. And often this entails Buddhist monks, or just people who, even lay Buddhist folks who follow Buddhism, with a heart of compassion, will purchase animals and release them. And they call this life release, as a way of, recognizing that all sentient beings, even our non-human animal friends, also wish for liberation. And so this life release, or life liberation, the liberation of our non-human animal friends, they'll do particular actions that symbolize that. And one of those actions that I had saw on Facebook, and I kind of hope that it's maybe AI or maybe not real, but there was like a dove release. And being a Buddhist myself and understanding life release, being a Buddhist myself and understanding the plight of our dove friends, and having the Animal Liberation Temple, where we have 38 pigeon friends. And many of our pigeon friends are actual rescues from dove release, because of the reality of what dove release is. And the reality is that these doves are born in captivity, are bred specifically to be released. They have lived their entire life in captivity, often taken very good care of, fed very well, provide housing and medical care. They are very well taken care of, and that's probably why they look so beautiful. But the reality is that they're bred for a specific reason, and that is to release them into a world where they will no longer be fed, they will no longer have that medical care, and they were not raised by their own pigeon community to survive the wild. So often these pigeons who are released into the wild, or released into a cruel world where they don't understand predators and they're picked off by predators. They don't understand where to find food, and so they often starve. They don't know how to find water, so they often will die of dehydration. These doves that we release, they also, often don't even know how to fly with so much open space and get lost very easily. We tend to think about homing pigeons, and we tend to think that pigeons will just always know where to go. But the reality is they often get lost. These pigeons that are doves that are released, often they're not considering all the bonds that doves make, being brought up in these places and being brought up in, probably a really nice aviary, probably a really nice, a place for pigeons to live. These doves make companions, and doves are known to be monogamous and lifelong monogamous partners. And so they will literally marry their partner, and they will live with them for a lifetime. And when this often when these dove releases happen, they're not released with their partner, so they're separated from their partner, who they intended to be with for a lifetime. And so these are the nuances that I want people to understand, and this is why I'm talking about this now and being a little bit critical. And I am unsure if the Buddhist monks themselves wanted this dove release to happen, or maybe it was one of the event organizers, or maybe it was a particular venue that they were at that decided to do this dove release. People thought it was really beautiful. I think symbolically, this was probably a really beautiful thing. But I think that what we should be looking at is often from the perspective of our non-human animal friends. And this is exactly why this temple exists, is to educate folks on the realities of what our dear pigeon friends go through, what our reality of what our dear non-human animal friends go through. And so, if you know folks out there who are doing pigeon releases, often you see this at weddings, you see this at other celebrations. Maybe reach out to these event coordinators and explain to them what pigeon release means. A lot of our residents here at the Animal Liberation Temple were doves who were released and separated from their partners, and who fell out of the sky from dehydration and from sickness and not being able to find food, or just distraught looking for their partners. And these are the lucky few that great activists and advocates for pigeons had found and brought them into safety, and then ended their life up here at the Animal Liberation Temple, where they're cared for and fed and kept away from predators and have clean water and a nice home. If we lived in a perfect world, they wouldn't be bred for this, and we'd only have wild pigeons. But the reality is we still have domesticated pigeons, and we'll continue to have domesticated doves and pigeons until we could remove such practices such as dove release and homing pigeons and sport pigeons, and also, unfortunately, food pigeons. They're exploited in many different ways, and until we start to recognize that this is what's happening to them, we can't move forward to kind of end that type of exploitation. Oh, okay. So I guess Neil did see this happening. Happened on the 11th of January. So I do hope that pigeon friend is doing well. One of the other practices in dove release, which isn't, again, very exploitative, is that they release these doves, and then they're trained to come back to their owner, and then they are returned to their coop, which is probably more ideal. But then it kind of takes away from the the point of life release, where they're like released back into liberation. That isn't always what happens. Sometimes these birds are trained to return, and then somebody pays to have them released again, and then they return, and then they're paid to release again. Each time they take a risk of being picked off by predators, or not finding their way home and being confused, and experience sadness, being separated from their partners and family and friends. So it's still a very horrible practice, even if they do survive and return back to their coop and their coop mates. So even though I had talked about, we should be careful about being overly critical of actions, I think when our actions, especially one coming from our own community, so if that's means you're a Buddhist community, if that means a lot of folks who do watch this are from a Christian community, if you are from an animal rights community, whatever your community is, I think that's where we should speak up and be critical of these particular actions, especially when these actions are, go against our values of nonviolence. And I think that's the most important thing to take from these things and look at these situations is it violent? And I think I have a good, strong argument that dove release is absolutely violent for our dove friends. And so in those cases, we should be speaking out for our dove friends when, they're used symbolically for peace. And I think that is beautiful. And I think the idea is, coming from a place of peace and compassion. However, the reality of it may be extremely violent for these dear bird friends of ours. So, I think that is something that we should remain critical of is, are our actions actually in alignment with nonviolence? And I'm hoping that everybody who tunes into this, regardless of your religion, regardless of your spiritual path, and regardless of your community specifically, that you are committed to at least nonviolence. I think this is an extremely important way to move forward. I think that is really the only sustainable way of solving this world's problems is through nonviolence. So that is my talk today. I hope a lot of folks got something from that. If you have questions or concerns, or hey, that doesn't make sense to me, I think this other way, I'm very open to hearing those. And I think dialogue is a form of nonviolence that we need to continue to have. So if you disagree, or if you do agree and just want to talk more about this, I'm always available. You can reach out to me, which reminds me, I wanted to thank Neil for messaging me this morning to let me know about some of the sound issues that we're having here, about some of the alternatives that we could be broadcasting on. It's really helpful, and I'll write back, Neil, but I just wanted to, I wasn't able to write back right away, but thank you so much for writing. I completely agree. We should mention it. I think we can and should mention it with kindness and empathy to point out the negative results of those actions that we know can and will do harm to sentient beings. So it's beautifully said, Neil. I think we have a responsibility when confronted with violence to speak out. And that is the nonviolent thing. I've spoken in length about how I am very supportive of things like disruption and protest, that speaks out loudly and speaks out boldly, because I think kindness and empathy is loud and bold. And I think that is really important, that we don't censor ourselves. Especially in the Buddhist community, I think often we're portrayed as being soft-spoken, which is always a good thing. It is good to be soft-spoken in most situations, but when the situation comes to harm coming to other sentient beings, we may need to raise our voice in kindness, raise our voice in empathy, to point out the negative results, like Neil said. We'll conclude, though, or continue here with the recitation of the Animal Liberation Prayer and the dedication of merit. And I do believe our outdoor camera is going to be working, so I'm going to, in honor of our talk today, we're going to go visit with our pigeon friends. We'll start with the Animal Liberation Prayer, found on page 12, 13, and 14. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who are subject to unbearable pain in labs throughout the world, be free of all suffering. May alternatives to animal experimentation, vivisection, and dissection be implemented immediately. May bodhicitta, the quality of compassion that leads to enlightenment, fill the hearts of those who imprison them. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who suffer endless days, months, and years, locked in tiny cages unable to move, be filled with peace and calm. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who are forcibly taken from their families, be reunited, and may all families be able to stay together. May the hearts of those who work in slaughterhouses, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends be filled with bodhicitta, so the very thought of harm is purified. May they never kill again, and may the slaughterhouse lines, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends become immediately empty. May no animal be afraid or depressed. May their bodies be free of injuries, disease, and illness. May the mutilation of their bodies be forever ceased. May those who need homes or have been driven from them find shelter, plentiful food, and water. May there be liberation for those tortured for fur, entertainment, or who are hunted. May those who believe that they are superior to our brother and sister animals develop perfect equanimity, and may they realize in their hearts that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature, the potential to be completely free of suffering, and that they are not ours to kill or exploit. May the billions of land and sea-dwelling sentient beings who are abused, exploited, and killed due to greed, hatred, and ignorance be free of suffering. May all the nets, hooks, blades, projectiles, traps, snares, cages, pens, tanks, lethal restraints, saddles, reins, prods, bait, poison, and all instruments used to harm, exploit, and dominate our dear animal friends be forever abolished. May all human and non-human sentient beings live together in harmony, peace, equanimity, and achieve perfect enlightenment quickly. May we all experience happiness, safety, freedom, and animal liberation in this very lifetime. And we now recite the dedication of merit to our dear animal friends. Throughout our many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue we have accomplished, including this aspiration for peace, and all that we will ever attain, this we offer for the benefit of all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends. May suffering, exploitation, and unnecessary death decrease for every being, while wisdom, bliss, and compassion increase in this and every future life. May we clearly and instantly perceive the plight of our dear animal friends with the urgency and seriousness they deserve, and our every action leads them to complete liberation. May we quickly attain enlightenment and work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. I kind of wonder if this camera is actually better than my main camera. I'd really like to look at this. Maybe folks can let me know. I think the sound is working on this other camera. I think I did everything correct this time. So we are I'm gonna go up the back side of the temple. We've got the Animal Liberation Temple logo put on the bathroom today, or yesterday. Looks kind of nice. Well, Jean is out here cleaning the feeders. Our Cornishes over here. I know the dog's barking, but I hope folks can hear the pigeons. It's such a beautiful, beautiful sound that they make. There goes FP flew by me. You can see our pigeons have partners that they have here, and they'll be lifelong partners together. Another cute couple here. Our Cornish chickens here. He loves them. See, some of them are starting to get their feathers back on their backside. Some of them are still pretty bad, still getting picked on. But that's just something that this is kind of unique to this flock. Some flocks just pick at their feathers. But they're doing better. They have a special food that has vitamins that help their feathers grow a little bit better. Go through the front side of the temple. People see, I don't know if you can see the horses up there. You can see the temple roof is coming along. We need to do the front side of the sheathing for the roof. It's coming. So busy. Yeah, just reading, catching up on the comments. Yeah, I don't know why that camera is so much better than my other one. Maybe I'll figure out why that is. Oh, good. Somebody can see one of the horses on the up on the hill over there. That's wonderful and beautiful. Oh yeah, thank you, Tani. Thank you, Mom, for commenting on our roof. It is coming along. Oh, if folks can just stick around for the actual credits, that is super helpful. I'd like to thank all the wonderful folks who contributed to our dear animal friends, or to our dear animal residents of the Animal Liberation Temple from the 11th to the 17th of January. Also, thank everyone who has been liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to our social media. Thank our Venmo donors, Rojin Mohammedi, Henry Rose, Rafael Langer Osana, and Tani Salazar. Thank you so much. And big thank you to our PayPal donors, Jacqueline Alschuler, Cassandra King, the Universal Compassion Buddhist Congregation, Andrew Sisk, and Teresa Coraton. And of course our Patreon supporters who have committed to donating every month, Susan Fryman, Neil Carmen, Palomina Bradford, Paula Partenheimer, and Shannon Hunter. And if you folks would like to donate, you can do so through our link tree, also found in our description, or you can mail checks directly to the Animal Liberation Temple at this address. There's a reminder to all my folks in the U.S. that we are a 501c3 and all donations are tax deductible. Thank you so much for joining our services for our dear animal friends, and everybody have a beautiful week.